Hello and welcome to this vlog. My name is Becca if you're new here, but I'm super excited because look at this. I am 36 weeks and some days pregnant, which means that I'm going to be giving birth in like less than a month, maybe a month, who knows. Anyways, but this whole video is going to be all about how I am preparing to give birth naturally, to take it a step further. So this video is not going to be for everybody because not everybody wants to give birth naturally, and that is completely 100% okay. There are so many different ways to give birth out there and all of them are great. But I just wanted to share everything that I'm doing to prepare from the beginning of my third trimester all the way up until I am pushing this baby out of me. Because it's kind of a hefty list, if I'm being honest, because it covers both the physical things that I do to prepare and the mental. So let's get started. First thing that I actually physically take the time to do is I watch a bunch of birth stories and read them. I know I was told a lot like, oh, only listen to the positive ones, which is great advice for most people. However, I like to be uber prepared. I like to know a lot of the different crazy things that can go wrong, so then I feel like I can make a good judgment call. I'm not saying that this is actually true, but I like to feel like I can make a good judgment call based on what is happening to me. And so I listened to like everything. This is baby number 2 for me. For my first, I did a lot of research on like C-sections, epidural, like any kind of birth that was out there. Even the like sad, terrible, scary ones. Again, I really liked knowing. For this one, it's a lot different. Like I have done pretty much none of that preparation. Again, like I've done it and so I feel confident. Yeah, this is just really dependent on you and what you want. Because I know some friends that are like, I didn't research a thing. I just wanted to do what my doctors told me. I didn't want to have any expectations, so I just went in and did it. And I was like, I can't believe you're that brave, but good on you. The next one that I start doing probably from the beginning of my pregnancy, honestly, but it's like a key thing that I think most people would tell you, practicing breathing. This is what helped me, number one, absolutely, in like the pain management and just the overall giving birth process. A couple things I do, especially in the third trimester, to prepare for breathing. Anytime I have a Braxton Hicks contraction, for example, like my belly gets really tight and hard and it's just like, it's a feeling, you know when you have them. But I take a second to pause what I'm doing and I will take a really, really deep, good breath that like goes all the way down to the bottom of my belly. And if you don't have a lot of Braxton Hicks, then like you can even just practice breathing these good, deep breaths, like when you're out walking or just anytime you can take a minute, do like 5 of these breaths. It's good. Another thing that I was taught to do is to practice breathing while you're pooping. And this is same with like working out and exercising. Anytime you're doing something and you're like straining and it's like the hard part of the workout, so like if you're squatting or doing a lunge or pooping, you should not be holding your breath because it is very inefficient and it causes a lot of strain in your body when you can relieve a lot of that with the proper breathing. And so when you're doing the hard thing, you should be breathing out and down because for some reason our body is just physically made up to work better that way. So there's so many good benefits that come with breathing properly. Because the like 2 times in my first labor that I tried to hold my breath because I thought it would be more effective to hold it and just like push with all my strength, it was crazy intense how big the difference was. It was so inefficient, and it was really cool that I tried that so that I could see the stark difference. But yeah, just practicing how to breathe. And there's so many like videos and stuff out there if you want more information on how to properly breathe. Anyways, next thing that I do is I try really hard to be in a better position and just have better posture. Because with from my first contraction all the way up until I pushed him out of me was 36 hours, which is not fun. It was such a long time. And a lot of that was like inactive labor, which why do they call it inactive when you're having contractions every 3 to 5 minutes and they don't feel great still? A lot of that was because of the position that he was in. So I was having a lot of really uncomfortable, aka painful back labor and back contractions. And so I did a lot of research on how to avoid that with this one, and everything I've come across basically says your posture and how your baby sits in your belly throughout your pregnancy leads to whether or not you have back contractions. So the best tips that I have read is just trying to have like a very forward posture. So I try to work that into my day as much as possible because honestly, I have terrible posture. I realize this about myself, but I'm working hard. So like if I'm playing with my toddler, I'll like try to lean over and play with his toys with him. Or if I'm washing the dishes, I'll lean forward on the counter, because basically you want the baby's spine to be curved up against your belly. And so you want it to be like your belly is a hammock to the baby's back. But when you're leaning back and relaxing and watching TV on the couch, then your baby's back and spine goes onto your spine with the curvature of your back. Anyways, try to lean forward. Is my point here. Another thing that I think really helps me a lot is trying to sit on the birthing ball, like the yoga ball, instead of the couch, because the couch is my number one nemesis. I just relax into it and just lays about, and again, the bad back posture. I will try to sit on the front part of the couch so then I can sit upright, or I'll sit on the birthing ball because it forces you to sit up straight. Next thing that I do to prepare in this 3rd trimester is I switch from pretty like hard cardio and weightlifting to a lot more gentle stuff, like walks. I try to go on hour-long walks every single day. Your body will let you know. Like for me, it was right before my 3rd trimester. I was doing like weightlifting and cardio things at least 4 times a week. And I felt great up until a certain point. I was like, this feels like way too much. That's when I made the switch. Now I really enjoy my walks. And I also do this like circuit of stretches. They're all supposed to be things that get the baby in a really good position. It's great. But a lot of the stretches are like cat-cows and downward facing dog. There's the spinning baby stuff, like forward lying inversion, where you do it off the front of the couch and you have your butt sticking up in the air. Other good things are like deep squats. I'll try to incorporate those really good deep girthy squats throughout my day. Again, just like picking stuff up or playing with my toddler. Another thing is just trying to be more fluid in the hips, because I'm not. I've learned some different things, like you can lean up against a couch and do like a figure 8 with your hips. I'll just try to take little salsa breaks while I'm making dinner or something, so I'm like dancing and wiggling just to get your body fluid, and it's good. It's good for you. Okay, the things that the internet tells you need to do in order to have a healthy uterus, I do them. So drinking the red raspberry leaf tea. I started at 32 weeks. You can decide when you want to start, but I start with 1 tea bag a day. And then once I get to 34 weeks, then I up it to 2. And then once I get to 36 weeks, I up it to 3. I let it steep like all morning and most of the afternoon, and then I'll drink it around the evening. So yeah, I'm drinking lots of red raspberry leaf tea. Everything that I've read is it doesn't induce labor. It just makes your uterus really healthy and happy. And then the same thing with dates. I try to incorporate a lot more dates into my diet. And so if I'm having a smoothie, I'll throw some in for me. Or like peanut butter stuffed dates. Delicious. Date balls are good. So just that kind of thing. And then the other thing that is scientifically proven. So I'm here to share this with you scientifically, but sex is good. Mainly because the semen, it actually softens your cervix, which is a good thing that you want to have happen when you're trying to push a baby out. Do with that what you will. Last thing on my list that I do physically is I eat so much fiber, especially leading right up to my due date and then after for a long time, because the last thing that you want are constipation issues. It scares me. It scares me real bad. I didn't have any issues with my first experience giving birth because, again, I ate so much plant food because I wanted all the fiber, because I did not want to get blocked up, because I've just heard nightmare stories about having to deal with constipation after giving birth. Yep, I want to avoid it, so I eat a lot of plants. Those are all my physical things that I do to get prepared. So the next section is mental, which I think is actually a lot more important, and it's a longer list. The first thing for me mentally is knowing your reasons why. Why do you want to give birth naturally? Not everybody does, and that is perfectly okay. I once heard it described as some people like to run marathons. They like the challenge of it. They like to be able to see if they can do it. And then there's other people that look at the people that run marathons and they're like, why? You're stupid. Stop it. And for me, I like winning. And I like the challenge of it, and it's not a good reason for a lot of people. However, I like to know that I can. And then, well, this one is probably even more important to me than that first one. But the next reason is I am scared of epidurals. And it's not even that I'm scared of the needle of the epidural. I'm scared of the idea of the cascade of interventions. And so I don't want to go too much into this because some people get epidurals and they love them. And they don't understand why anybody would not get them. Some people have to get them. whatever. So for me, it's like, I think that the body naturally wants to give birth, and if you get an epidural, it cuts off the like mind body connection that you have, and things just, they can go wrong. Like you hear a lot of stories about it stalls out labor, and you also can't oftentimes be in the natural position that you want to be. So for me, I had really bad back labor, and so the idea of laying on my back to push him out made me want to vomit. It was awful. But if I'd had an epidural, like I would have had to be in that position. And I think my body was telling me like that was not the right position for me. And so I ended up doing this like draped over the bed on my knees kind of thing. And it was great, like wonderful. I wouldn't have known that, and I couldn't have done that if I'd had an epidural. And there's also just complications that can come with getting an epidural that I would like to just avoid the chance and risk of. So for me personally, I just think, and feel free to argue this, but I think that no epidural is the safest option. Statistically, you have shorter pushing times, for example, if you don't get an epidural, because again, that mind-body connection, it was so cool to me that I didn't push my first baby out. My body just took over and pushed him out for me. And I don't think you can have that connection. So then you end up pushing for like 3 hours. The baby can get kind of stuck and in distress. And so then they're using the forceps or the vacuums to get the baby out. And so then you tear worse, and then you have like an episiotomy because you got to get him out fast. I truly believe that you have shorter pushing times and you have a better recovery if you do it naturally. For me, the actual pushing was probably like 15-30 minutes, and then he was out, and I had very minimal tearing. It wasn't bad at all. After we did all of our bonding, they took him to weigh him, and I rolled right out of the bed and went and took a shower. And the whole time I was like, I feel amazing right now. So I am striving to have a birth that is pretty similar to my first one. Another reason why for me is just like, I like to feel and experience the birth. And again, not everybody wants to, and that is totally cool. This is a crazy, like kind of once in a lifetime experience that you get, and I want to experience all of it, the bad and the good. I mean, people really focus on the scary, hard, painful part of it, but the after part is pretty cool too. Like, it is the most empowering moment of my entire life so far, and I don't think I would have had that same extreme if I hadn't done it completely natural. The next section for me mentally was understanding your body and like the anatomy of it all, and that your body was made to do this. So it was just really like special to me to take the time to do all the research to learn like your uterus has different muscle layers, and they work at different times throughout the labor to do different things, and like your birth canal is made so incredibly so that it can stretch to crazy proportions, and just like learning about your placenta and what a freaking cool organ it is, and just understanding how it all has to come together and work so like synergistically. It is so beautiful. I don't want to get too like hippy dippy here, but it's really like something special. That really helped me. I don't know if it will help anybody else, because the most important thing to me from this takeaway on your body was made to do it, and I heard this but I didn't believe it until my body did it for me for my first. It completely took over and pushed him out for me. Like, I didn't push, it knew what to do. And so to me, that is just so empowering. I think that was a big thing that I was scared of the first time, because you're like, okay, how am I supposed to know when to push or how to push? Or, you know, you think that it's all like you, but no. It's not you. It is your body, and it knows what to do, and it will do it if you allow it to. Next section is understanding the how to accomplish it. Again, I think this comes into play just doing a bunch of research so that you feel very prepared and you know what's going on. That's the hardest part, I think, to me. Just knowing, like, you can have a super duper long inactive labor and it's not fun, but you need to know that that's a case for some people. And then I truly believe like you need to know how to breathe. And another big thing is like you need to know how to relax. Our bodies are so in tune to our environment. Like, we have different hormones that flood out of us when we are stressed or like tensing up, because our body is saying like, no, this is not a good time to have a baby. We gotta hit pause on this and wait until you're okay again. So it's incredibly important to know why to relax and then how to relax. And so it's just understanding like your uterus needs the relaxation so that it can do its own thing. Because if you are just trying to control everything, you're in pain and you're just clenching everything, it's just very counterproductive. It can cause a lot more harm. and it slows everything down. The last thing that you want is to flood your body with these stress hormones that completely stall out your labor, because then you just have a very long labor. Another great thing to know about is transition. So I had a lot of people tell me this in their birth stories, but also like women that I know personally that have come up to me and told me. A helicopter just flew around our house for 50 minutes, not even joking. So spared you from having to listen to that the whole time. Anyways, knowing about the transition period is so important. And I heard a lot about this from listening to people's birth stories, but also like women in my real life told me about this, and I'm so glad, because it is another key thing to know about. Because when you are getting to the point where you're saying, I can't do this anymore, you're typically right, because you're not going to be doing it for much more longer. And that was exactly the case with me. Once I started to say I couldn't do this anymore, been doing this for way too long, I really need an epidural, like got one ordered and everything, and they couldn't get it to me fast enough because he came out a little bit after that. So just knowing that the very hardest part is also the very shortest part, which is comforting. Last is just knowing and being confident in the signs of labor. The hardest part for me was the two parts when I couldn't see the forward progression of things, which might sound really silly, but when things just feel like they are going on forever and you're not seeing progress, that is when it gets really, really tricky, and you start to play like all these mind games, and you start to lose it a little bit. Being super knowledgeable about the different parts of labor, so you know where you're at and like what's happening, and then also not being scared to ask for help. Like when I was laboring at home for a whole day, they weren't progressing, but they weren't going away. Called my midwife, and she let me know how things were going, and it just gave me a lot of peace of mind and a lot of comfort. Knowing what to look for and when to ask for help is just, I think, a really big key to the confidence that you need to give birth. My last section that I have is all about affirmations. And this is going to be so personal, person to person. My first big mental affirmation that I had, and I don't even know if this is an actual factual story, but the story where the lady that's in a coma and she still delivers and gives birth, even though like she is mentally not a part of it, her body just completely does it for her. It gives me a lot of comfort, because it's like I get really hung up on the fact that I need to know how to do it. You don't, your body does. So it's like knowing when to step in and when to step back, I think is good. In the case of active labor, knowing that your body is made for it and that it can do it and all the good things it was really good for me. When I was pushing my son's head out last time, it was very painful. I just remember my midwife told me something and it just struck me, and it worked so well. She said, don't be scared or try to run away from the intense feeling. And for some reason, it just completely switched my mindset, because she must have seen it in me. Like I was starting to freak out and I just wanted to run and get away from the pain. And she said that to me and I was like, I gotta do it. We gotta just get it done. Everything shifted and it was magical, if I'm being very honest. So I don't know. I'm gonna have my husband say that to me this time if I'm doing the same thing, and we'll see if it works. The same kind of witchcraft. Another thing to try to like tell yourself, or like a mental place that you should be in, that didn't come out right, is just trying to like smile and say jokes and have a lot of laughter, because when you're laughing, then everything is relaxed, and even when you're smiling, like it just releases certain hormones that help progress labor. You have a contraction, sucks, and then in the in between, I was like, I have very bad humor. Nobody thinks I'm funny. I don't think I'm funny. But I was trying to crack these dumb jokes in between every contraction. And it helped me. Like, it helped calm me down. It's just like my way of trying to diffuse the situation, I guess. Yeah, maybe try to do something like that. Or try to have your husband say something funny. I don't know. I can see that backfiring though, if he's like trying to crack jokes and you're in a very serious space. I can see that going really badly. A few actual affirmations that I like had on my phone and I read during my labor was saying to myself, this is doing no injury to my body, because that is a big thing to me. Like, you're going through this quite intense experience, and you know, a baby does have to come out of you. You just have this mental fear running through, at least I did, that this is going to do like irreparable stuff to my body, and I would never be the same again. Harkening back to that whole, your body was made for this, it's going to do the job, and you will heal. I can't talk. You will heal and everything will get better eventually. Another, the pain is temporary and the pain is productive. I think that is a really good one for me. Like, you're not just going through all this awful stuff for nothing. Like, it is productive. It is doing what needs to be done. Another is you can do anything for 1 minute, which is true. And I love that. And I use that like in my life, even after having my son 2 years ago. I can do anything for a minute. I can do anything for a minute. It just helps give a good frame of mind for everything, I guess. And then the last one is that this will end, because it will. And then by the end of it, you will have your beautiful baby. So it won't matter anymore, all that suffering that you did. Anyways, that is everything I have on my list on how to prepare both mentally and physically for giving natural birth. This is so much fun. I hope you learned something. And if I left anything off the list, please let me know down in the comments, because I'm about to do this. So we're in this together. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!